At the end of 2023, I posted a video which, like all of my videos, nobody was going to watch. Oh. Guess I'm a Yugi tuber now. It's been a long year. I'm grateful to have such a larger audience now, pushing me to make videos of ever higher quality. There's also been a fair bit of power creep in Yu-Gi-Oh! Recently. I challenged myself to upload regularly for a whole year, so now it's time to end where we started, with a fresh guide for the new and improved Sapphire Surprise. For those blissfully unaware, Sapphire Surprise is the unholy nexus between Branded and Tri-Brigade, two popular themes with crossover support, but which did not actually synergize because the main Branded card shuts off the Tri-Brigade's link monsters. Branded fusion is bad, so we're ditching it for Crystal Beasts. These materials are searchable by the Tri-Brigade engine, and themselves lead into the Springans engine, which gets you a Branded spell, along with the dragon you get, that lets you dump Albion the Branded Dragon and Fallen of Albaz, which will get you Branded Red at the end of the turn, so you can fusion summon. And Synchro Xyz and Link summon. In addition to Crystal Beasts, Branded, Tri-Brigade, and Springans, these combos also bring in Dogmatika Saints, the Horus engine, we can do Diabellestar, and of course, your favorite Nemeses and Thunder Dragon Colossus, giving you a bazillion 2-card combos that result in utterly unintelligible boards like this. You may notice that 2 of these cards are now forbidden in the TCG. That is because of me. I apologize. I broke Yu-Gi-Oh! By turning the Golden Sword Soul into Borreload Savage Dragon, and Konami, God-fearing Konami, could not let that pass. And yet, that's nothing new for Sapphire Surprise. Check out my YCS and National vlogs if you're interested in the history of this crazy deck and the chaotic adventures it took me on. Refusing to give up, I've added new engines and bosses in the years since. Konami, every time you strike me down, I become more powerful than you could possibly imagine. Last note, this deck is probably not for the faint of heart. It's going to take a lot of practice. It'll be fun to tinker with for those who enjoy the complexities of the game, without requiring that you always think 30 steps ahead, the kind of precision that synchro decks require. Look, we're gonna be doing 50-step combos today, but we're not gonna be summoning Quasar. I have a PhD in dueling, and even I can't figure that stuff out. If you are interested in trying this deck out for yourself, there is a guide in the description, which will even tell you what ratios you should run cards at. Or you can just sit back and enjoy the chaos of another roller coaster of a MarkThePage deck building video. First, I'll play out a hand so you can be very confused. Then I'll go back and explain what the heck just happened. This is my favorite combo. You can do it with almost any combination of 2 Tri-Brigades. You can also do this after laying down any protection, whether that's Horus into Photon Lord or Azamina. For the sake of simplicity, we'll assume that every other card we draw is irrelevant, even though in practice, every other card we draw will be another branch of the combo. For the sake of example, let's say we get to Fractal through Tenki. This is a surprise tool that will help us later. I assume you have some familiarity with Tri-Brigades. Fractal sends Kit, and Kit sends Nerval, then Nerval adds Courier to the hand. Karis then discards that Courier to summon itself, and you can banish 4 to cheat out Shureg. Shureg has a non-targeting banish when summoned, but we're not going to use that here. Banishing Courier triggers its effect to search for a monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz. We can pick Guiding Quem the Virtuous and normal summon her. She sends another friend, like Incredible Ecclesia. Then when we use these 2 to link summon, a card leaving the extra deck triggers Quem's effect to revive the monster that she sent, and Shureg's effect triggers. We have 4 banished beasts, so we can get a level 4 beast from the deck. We can have Ecclesia tag out for Albaz. Now we have Albaz in play, which is going to be key for setting up our fusion summon later. But for now, we are going to Xyz summon Springans Merrymaker. This sends a Springans monster from the deck to the graveyard, and we can rank it right up into Gigantic Champion Sargus, which searches for a Springans or Therian card. Most people think we're gonna search for Regulus, but nah, we're going for Tally-Ho! This searches for another Springans monster, and because we're detaching 2 materials, we can summon 2 Springans monsters from the hand or graveyard. That triggers Kit's effect, which will search for a Branded card from anywhere, and because an Xyz material is detached, we can destroy or bounce any target on the field. Again, the opponent has no cards, but we can use this to bounce Tenki. Then Kit resolves, we get Branded High Spirits. Kit then requires sending a card back to the deck. Send whatever useless spell you just bounced. Next, we're going to use these 2 kits to make a Farragut, which can summon the Sapphire that we searched for. On summon, Sapphire crystallizes a rainbow from the deck, a key card for this deck, which banishes itself to summon a Crystal Beast from the deck and search for a Rainbow Dragon. You'd think this is useless, but now that we have a dragon in hand, we can use Branded High Spirits to discard that and a Dragon Fusion and search for a monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz. This is going to get us our fusion spell at the end of the turn. For now, we've got Albion the Shrouded Dragon. This will typically be used to send Albaz to the graveyard, but we already got him because we went through Quem, so we're free to discard something else, such as Branded Retribution. This is the thing that gets a branded card back from the graveyard, but we'll have another use for it. Albion then goes back in the deck, and we get a draw. Next, these 2 level 4s can go into Raid Raptor Forstrix, which searches for a level 4 Dark Winged Beast. We're gonna grab this Blackwing here, Zephyros the Elite. Next, Bearbrum's effect discards 2 cards and summons a beast from banishment. At this point, I used to go for Fractal and get a free Ancient Warrior's Oath double Dragon Lords for a bounce, but instead, these days, I don't have anything to summon off Fractal here. So I like to get Mercurier instead, and then we can bounce that back to the hand to revive Zephyros. These 2 are going to link summon SP Little Knight. If you're not going first, you can banish something off your opponent's field with this. Otherwise, we will now use 2 link 2s to make a link 4 Nightmare Griffin. Lock down special summon monsters. They cannot activate unless they are co-linked. And because Nightmare Griffin is co-linked, we can discard to set a Speller Trap from the graveyard and draw a card. We also have Farragut here, which can draw a card and return a card. And we've got Bearbrum, which will search for a Tri-Brigade Speller Trap. So we've got a draw, and we can return that, and then we get Tri-Brigade Revolt, and we return something else. Set that lovely trap card, and at the end of the turn, because you sent a fusion to the graveyard, Incredible Ecclesia comes back, and because that fusion was the Branded Dragon, you can set Branded in red, which is ready to go, because we've got Albaz in the graveyard. So you can banish something with Little Knight, the opponent's locked down, you can use Tri-Brigade Revolt, even if you only have 2 monster zones open, you have 2 properly summoned Link 2s, so that's gonna spit out a sure egg for you. Branded Red can make Mirror Jade or Guardian Chimera, both powered up by the Courier in hand. That can give you more negation or more searching. If you're using Revolt after you've banished Little Knight, you'll have an open zone. You can bring back a Nerval, and when that's sent to the graveyard, you search for another Courier. And Branded Retribution returns your fusion monster to negate and destroy an opposing card. Then on your next turn, it's gonna get Branded in red back for you. Here it is. So yeah, again, if anybody's got a better Fractal combo than this, let me know. Okay, I'll throw in one more combo. I want to show what you can do with just a single Foolish Burial Goods. I know, like, every Crystal Beast deck goes nuts with one Foolish Burial Goods, but hey, this is one of them. Foolish Burial Goods dumps Rainbow Bridge of Salvation, which you can banish from the graveyard to search for a Crystal Beast and a field spell. We got the Horus field here. That will search for Imseti, then you have to return a card back to the deck. Goodbye. Imseti discards something else to get King's Sarcophagus and a draw. Put the King's Sarcophagus out there, you can revive Horus, discard again, and you can dump another Horus monster and summon it. There are plenty of things to discard in this deck, we're just assuming it's all bricks for now. You can use these level 8s to summon number 38, Hope Harbinger Dragon Titanic Galaxy Super Ninja Powered Turbo Neo Ultra Hyper Mega Multi Alpha Meta Extra Uber Prefix combo to negate a spell, or Galaxy Eyes Photon Lord to negate monsters, which is probably going to be more useful for you. Now that we've got protection, what can a single Sapphire do? Well, you place your Rainbow, crack that to get to your 2 level 4s and your Dragon. We will again go for our Springans combo, which will get 2 skits together with Tally Ho, Detach, Search, and Summon. Now, you can bounce something, and then resolve Kit's effect, so you get your Search, and you have to return something, so return this field spell which has run its course. High Spirits next, dumps our dragons, and searches for Shrouded. Now, we don't have Albaz yet, so this is where Albion will dump Albaz, get us a draw, and go back in the deck. So even if you have nothing but Sapphire into a Springans combo, you're still getting Albaz set up. Next we have 2 level 4s again, so let's spend them on, let's say, a Forstrix. Search for a Darkwing Beast here. You could stop there, but you can also trade these for SP Little Knight, like everyone else. At the end phase, you will get Branded in red, it's got Albaz in the graveyard, you are ready to fusion summon. Perhaps this negates something, and then he's all done, so you play Branded in red, fuse that up into Mirror Jade. And now Mirror Jade can dump Brigran the Glory Dragon to banish something, and at the end of this turn, you're also getting Fractal, so now you can go into your zany Tri-Brigade stuff, you know, just do whatever you want. So even off of this one card, you get at least 4 interactions and a whole lot of setup for the next turn. You even have your Horus monsters back in the graveyard, ready to be used with the King's Sarcophagus. And, you know, at least 3 other cards in your hand. 1-card combos are fun. Yu-Gi-Oh's a fun game. Sapphire Surprise plays engines the way most decks play cards. Here's a bit of what I mean by that, some flowchart action. Let's say I start with Sapphire. That typically means placing Rainbow and yielding 2 level 4 beasts plus a dragon in hand. Depending on the rest of my hand, this could lead into Farragut for a Tri-Brigade play, which will extend in various directions depending on which Tri-Brigade monster I have. Or as you've seen, these could go into the Springans engine, which is going to go pretty much the same way each time. You dump kit, you rank up, you get Tally-Ho gets the other kit, you summon both of them, they get branded in high spirits, and from there you can also continue on to your branded stuff. The output of a Springans play also involves 2 level 4 beasts. The Springans play gets you back to the original output of the Sapphire play, plus some bonuses. It's like going around the Monopoly board to collect another $200 of cards that'll get banned in 6 months. And that means your Springans play can also continue on to a Farragut play, and get you any Tri-Brigades that you wanted. Or maybe your Tri-Brigade monster is Karas, who wants something to discard. In that case, these kits can go into Force Strix, which will search for a Courier for you to use as Karas's discard. Get yourself a Bear Brum, and the Courier will search for a dragon when it's banished. Albaz himself is also dragon type, so you can do it with him. And as we saw, if you don't need to discard Albaz off of Shrouded, you can go for a branded trap. As you can see, we've got a bunch of combo lines with similar inputs and similar outputs, and multiple opportunities to search for each combo piece, or if you already have that card, you can search for a different card which will still add to a future play. This is a very cognitively demanding deck to pilot. If you've watched me play Master Duel, then you'll know I rarely play this deck on stream because when I try to narrate what I'm doing, I either run out the clock or I forget which combo pieces I have. You won't be able to cram every possible engine in here, especially if you want room for crossout. The main limitation will be extra deck space, which is tighter than my whole engines will have to be excluded if you can't, for example, fit something which searches for Nemeses flag and something for the Nemeses to build up to, while also keeping your Horus protection and a full Tri-Brigade toolbox. Across all of my decks, I tend to use the extra deck for searching. Extra deck searchers are so powerful because they're always accessible, and now the cards in your main deck will always be accessible too. Take a drink every time I add a card from my deck to my hand. Do check out the guide linked below if you want to build this deck for yourself. You will have to choose your preferred engines, though. One of the reasons why I don't give specific deck lists is because I want you to play with the cards that you like. In my most popular video, I talked about how I don't want you to think that my list is solved even though I created this monstrosity. I also don't want you to pick it up, botch a couple of hands, and conclude that the deck is bad. You need to practice with this until you can get a feel for how these engines lead into each other. It's fun to just toy around with Play Solitaire, see what you can figure out. And this is a crazy combo pile! I loved seeing what you guys came up with when I first posted this a year ago. Your own engines, your own bosses and end boards. We're not going to find anything new if we all play the same cards. Pull things from your own collection that you think would match with this. Think of it as like a puzzle to solve. In any case, onto the engines. Sapphire Surprise began as a way to make use of every part of Sapphire Pegasus. 3 years ago, I was doing this with Nemeses and Verte. Now in my pure Crystal Beast decks, I've been mentioning how a single Sapphire results in SP and Colossus, and you can do that here too, though you could also keep going and find a higher ceiling, because SP clogs up your extra monster zone. Plus, this costs 2 slots from the extra deck, which not every build can afford. You've seen how a lone Sapphire already builds a full board by itself. Sapphire is a great starter because it leads right into the Springans play, which at minimum ensures that you have SP and a good Guardian Chimera or Mirror Jade with follow-up on the next turn. Or if you started with Tri-Brigade or a Quem play, you can still access Sapphire later in a combo. Use Shureg to link summon Farragut. Shurag searches for Sapphire, Farragut summons it, proceed to the Springans play from there. Or if you've already done the Springans play by then, turn them into Force Strix, so Sapphire can start your combos or extend them. Of course, we do this by having Sapphire place Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon from the deck or graveyard, or your hand if you're really desperate. This banishes itself to summon another Crystal Beast from the deck and search for a big Rainbow Dragon. This also means you're getting an extra card in hand. The number of cards in hand is crucial, as Bearbrum basically turns up to 3 discards into Tri-Brigade spam. Karis also costs cards from your hand, as does the Horus engine. You only need 1 and 1 Rainbow Dragon for it to search, but running multiples will make this more consistent. And Rainbow Dark Dragon is not impossible to summon here. It can also be fed to a lore, as can Courier. Of course, the main use for a Rainbow Dragon is a free discard for High Spirits, letting you go the Dragon route. High Spirits is going to get something different depending on which type you discard for it. Crystal Bond placing Rainbow is like an emergency teleport that also fluffs up your hand size. And because you now have 2 ways to get Rainbow in the back row, this lets you bait out Disruption. And you can search for this using Rainbow Bridge. If you want to go harder, Awakening is an alternate search target for Bridge. This gets you a free Crystal Beast summon from anywhere, or it lets this engine access Rainbow Bridge of Salvation, which, as you've seen, gets us more Crystal Beasts and the Horus engine. Awakening can also be an alternate Rainbow Bridge, getting you to Crystal Miracle, a counter trap, which will stop board breakers. None of these. We don't want to see these. Awakening can also search for Rainbow Bridge of the Heart, which gives you an extra normal summon, and if you have a surplus of crystals, that's going to get you to Crystal Miracle as well. You can destroy something, crystallize it, search out a miracle, and now you've got a negate. Going second, this also gives you a bit of removal. Can you tell that I really, really love Crystal Beasts? All of this is to say, there's a reason why this deck could only be called Sapphire Surprise. This turns into anything and everything. Terrence wanted to call it Cats, and then I added the Horus engine. Sorry, Terrence. Tri-Brigade monsters provide easy power and threats in one card while also synergizing with and searching out everything else. When it comes to throwing around beasts and leading into other plays, I think Crystal Beasts are a much better complement than Lyraloose ever was. I mean, what even are these things? Anime girls in bird suits? That's slightly more unnerving than the dudes in bird suits, except for the ones which are actual birds. I do not understand the lore of this game. I am just here for the sparkly rainbows. Fractal sets up everything, so go hard on him. I also go hard on Karis, too, because special summoning helps to power through disruption. You can run all of them at whatever ratios you want. This is not an exact science. Do not fret about your ratios of consistency cards. The probabilistic nuances are unlikely to matter much unless you are involved in high-level play, in which case you will be skilled enough to figure out your own ratios for your own personal playstyle. These are also compatible with Branded and High Spirits. If you discard a Winged Beast, it can get you Rinbrum. If you discard normal beasts, it can get you Brigrand. Not ideal, but it's good to have around, and these like to be discarded. You can search for Fractal using Tenki, which will also remain on the field. As you've seen, we can later bounce it with the Champion or Zephyros to get another card in hand. You can feed that extra card to Rinbrum, or to Springans Kit, or you can also discard it to summon Diabellestar, the Seeker of Sinful Spoilers. What's that? Snape kisses Dumbledore. Oh, very naughty. The basic goal of a Tri-Brigade play is to use Rinbrum to search for Tri-Brigade Revolt. This trap card can bring all your Tri-Brigade monsters back, send them to the graveyard, triggering their effects again, to emergency link summon Shurag, giving you a non-targeting banish. Or on your turn, summon Shurag just to sacrifice him and access his search effect. That's why we play 2. We used to trigger Bearbrum by linking it off into Apollo, but now things are different now. Summon SP Little Knight like everyone else, which is actually easier to summon. If you've got a big enough hand size to fuel Bearbrum's summon from banishment, you may also be able to spam enough monsters that you can go for Nightmare Griffin. It's not that different from Apollo, and as you saw, if you've got a good branded combo going, you can use the Shrouded Dragon to dump Branded Retribution, or another branded trap, and Nightmare Griffin can immediately set it to your field. Griffin does make this deck much more difficult to pilot. You have to be very specific about your zone placement. Nightmare Griffin could prevent your own monsters from activating if they're not co-linked, so if you do mess up, you can still use Branded Red to turn it into a Mirror Jade. Tri-Brigades will get you 2 searches connecting to your other engines, a Beast from Shurag and an Albaz friend from Mercurier. As I covered in the intro, nearly any combination formation of Tri-Brigades can search for Quem and trigger her summon effect. And then you will already have Albaz, so you can go for that branded trap play, and because you're spamming Tri-Brigade monsters, you'll be able to get to Nightmare Griffin. It all comes together. The Beast Search from Shureg could be a Sapphire to continue into a Springans play, or you can grab goodies like Zephyros to continue your combo. Or just another self-summoning, branded searching Springans kit to hold in hand. As you'll see, the Springans play gets you 2 skits, but you can still make use of a 3rd. Another founding principle of Sapphire Surprise was alternate search targets. We've got all these things that can search for Sapphire, but they also search for other things too, so nothing's redundant. And hey, if you have a favorite beast that wasn't mentioned here, Tri-Brigades can search for that too. You will need at least these cards for your extra deck. I don't have space even for double Dragon Lords in my build. On Master Duel, you've got Cymorg, but I haven't even gotten around to testing that since it was banned in the TCG. Sapphire Surprise looked very different back then. Master Duel players also retain access to Verte, which gives a purpose to Branded Fusion, and you can even make Rainbow Neos. As always, I encourage you to try all of this yourself. Take my teachings and bring them out into the world. Confuse the crap out of everyone who has to play Yu-Gi-Oh! With you. Just absolutely blue screen their brains. If the opponent has no idea what plays you're going for, they don't know what to negate. Except if you're playing like Advanced Crystal Beast Control and the opponents are literally so confused they will just negate things completely at random, so then you actually can't play mind games anymore. Their counterplay is a roulette wheel! Even in strategic terms, maybe there is a point where a deck gets too insane. No, it's the children who are wrong. The 3rd main engine is branded, but we aren't using Brain Dead Fusion. You thought I was gonna yeet another card, didn't you? We're using Branded in Red! You may think that this is clunky and inefficient, but we can set it up easily using Branded in High Spirits. Branded in High Spirits can discard your free Rainbow Dragon to also dump Albion the Branded Dragon, which will get you Branded in Red at the end of the turn. This requires Albaz in the graveyard, but you also get a friend search, like the Shrouded Dragon, who can dump Albaz and get you a free draw in addition to setting up Branded in Red, which will get you Mirror Jade to stop monsters, or Guardian Chimera, which can also take out spells and traps. Branded in High Spirits can also be used with a Winged Beast. Instead of getting Albion and Branded in Red, you will get Rindbrum, which will revive Albaz from your graveyard during the opponent's turn to fuse with one of their monsters. This is more powerful, but it is reliant on an opponent who may play around it, and this won't make Guardian Chimera, so you can only take out monsters. You can also get both. You may draw into Branded in Red, or you might draw Branded in High Spirits. Remember, we're searching for a branded card using Springans Kit, so if you already have High Spirits, you can go for red, and then you can go for the Winged Beast, and you will have both ways to fuse. For more branching combos, if you went through Guiding Quem or Incredible Ecclesia, then you already have Albaz in your graveyard. Albion doesn't need to dump him. You can dump your favorite branded trap, and then you can retrieve that trap using Nightmare Griffin. Or still go for the Albion dump anyway, and if Albion doesn't have to search for Branded in Red, it can search for your trap and set that immediately too. You have multiple ways to set a trap from the deck. Branded Retribution is especially helpful if you don't have room for Brigand in your deck. You will be very low on things to dump for Mirror Jade. Branded Retribution can put those back in the extra deck so you can keep going. And then, of course, banish this, and it'll get Branded in Red back from your graveyard. And then, when you next summon Springans Kit, you can get this back from banishment. There is just something so emotionally comforting about infinite recursion.
Who needs expensive therapy when you have expensive trading cards?
Now, the reason why you might cut Brigand the Glory Dragon is because, unlike your Dragon and your Winged Beast, this does not guarantee that you're getting a fusion summon. But because it's a beast type, High Spirits can now discard beasts. If you just don't have any winged beasts or dragons, but you really need a search, when you just need something, Brigand is here for you. I guess that's why people eat at McDonald's, huh? Be nice to your body and your wallet. I have been talking a lot about Yu-Gi-Oh! I should take a moment to breathe. And I'll get to that moment later. We've got a video to make. I know there are some branded super fans out there, so I'd love to see what a more branded heavy Sapphire Surprise looks like. There's also been a lot of tinkering with Bestial cards. We've got plenty of light and darks. We already have Quem and level 8 monsters. Let your creativity explode all over the place, and then it's really messy, and I have a lot of cards to clean up, and some on the floor for some reason. One of Sapphire Surprise's weaknesses was that while the Tri-Brigade and branded engines could pull everything else into play, a hand stuck with nothing but Crystal Beasts was just Baguska Pass, so of course that was every hand I drew in the National Championship. I'm not bitter though, because that meant I got to meet the one and only Jaden Yuki himself. Victory is fleeting. Friendship is forever. Photon Hypernova revolutionized this deck with the Springans engine, as the crucial high spirits now became searchable off of a simple rank 4. Overlay for Merrymaker, which sends a Springans monster to the graveyard, and then you get a free rank up to Gigantic Champion Sargus, which searches for Tally Ho. Not only do you get to pull out 2 Springans kits, summon them, search for your high spirits, but you even get back to 2 level 4 monsters, so you can go back to doing what you were gonna do anyway. It's just totally free branded search. You should use 3 skits. Even if you draw one, you can discard it for like something like Karis without consequence, and then you dump the second one, Tally Ho will search for the third, and you can just play the 2 from the graveyard, keep the third one in your hand, it can special summon itself to extend later. Or it's more padding for those Tri-Brigade cards, such as Bearbrum who wants to discard 2 and then trade a third card for the trap. While most of you seem to run only 1 high spirits, I use 3. It discards, it searches, it unbricks everything. And even if you draw one, then Skit's branded search can go for something else. Go for your silly traps. Where'd I put the silly traps? Here's a silly trap. There's always more branded stuff to search for. Also remember that the champion can destroy or bounce any target on the field when any Xyz material is detached, even the opponent's. You will be triggering this with your own Tally Ho. If the opponent doesn't have anything you want to destroy, you can bounce your own spells for those discard costs. Or hey, if you have Salvation in your hand, set that and have them destroy it. Get it in the graveyard, search for your Crystal Beast and field spell. Or maybe you already have your field spell, and so this Salvation is useless. Well, remember, when you summon Kit, Sargus can bounce a card back to your hand, Kit immediately returns it to the deck, now your field spell is back in the deck, you've unbricked Salvation. And furthermore, because you are getting back to these 2 level 4s, you can proceed to a Raid Raptor to search another combo piece, even a Winged Beast to discard for that high spirits, which can bring itself back, and crucially, these are not the same 2 monsters that you started with, which means you are filling up the graveyard with beasts for your Tri-Brigades. If you got to your rank 4 using a Quem combo, then your 2 level 4s can now go into Farragut, whereas they couldn't before because these were not beast types. You have successfully converted your evil Catholic demons into furries. You have overcome your religious trauma and discovered the freedom of self-expression. Let's talk about that, by the way. The Dogmatika cards. The branded theme is closely linked to Albaz, who has his own pool of support, not just the Mercourier who bridges him with the Tri-Brigades. I don't know what a Mercourier is. Prince Sidon plus the Postman? Impure thoughts, time to go to church! The Dogmatika Saints. You've seen Quem in action. What can't this card do in any deck? In addition to playing well alongside our usual combos, she's great at improvising combos. Like, let's say you open with high spirits, you can normal summon Quem, she dumps something. If you can use high spirits on anything, it'll send a fusion to the graveyard, and moving a card out of the extra deck will trigger Quem to bring back Ecclesia, tags out for Albaz, go into your Springans play from here, so you know you're getting at least a guaranteed fusion, a Winged Beast search, Little Knight, and so on. Incredible Ecclesia feels like a card we can do without, but whether I'm going first or second, anytime I side it out, I am made to regret it somehow. Burn through the opponent's responses with all these other engines, then at the very end, drop Ecclesia to pull Albaz out of the deck and fuse into a Mirror Jade, wreck their board. It's always nice to have one more play waiting when everything else is done. Another perk is that if you get Ecclesia into play, she pulls out Albaz. As you've seen, if the Shrouded Dragon doesn't need to dump Albaz, you get to dump a Branded Trap instead. For more shenanigans, there's also Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous. All of these can be searched off of Branded High Spirits. This one is easy material for your Xyz, Synchro, or Link summons. She can also spark a fusion summon. I haven't had space in any of my builds for Grand Guignol and the Lulu Lilith that it leads into. Though if you do use this, spellcasters also become valid targets for your Brandon High Spirits discards. Lastly, but firstly in my heart, the Golden Sword Soul. The gayest Sword Soul card, and therefore the best. I had a whole section on this in the original Sapphire Surprise guide. I've since cut it because we can no longer do the meme synchro play. For the TCG, you could make Stardust Dragon, very much a forgotten card, but it would not be the worst thing here because it would protect the board, and this is a board which can also protect it it in turn. So many things to try. For those Master Duel players, you can still make Borreload Savage Dragon and an Apollo for the Golden Girls to protect. And don't forget, if you have it on the field or graveyard and something gets banished, this can also revive Quem or Ecclesia, which is another way to drop a surprise Albaz on your opponent. Just realized this battery pack has been here. I've been recording for a long time. Those are the main engines, which means we're almost done. Your extra deck should be full by now, but you can kinda maybe find space for up to 3 other engines with a focus on protection. You've got plenty of starters for baiting negation and some cards that don't care about rocks, but that's never enough. Do not allow your opponent to play Yu-Gi-Oh! With Apollo forbidden, I needed something else to fill my hole in my heart. The Horus engine works with everything. They're searchable off of Salvation. They're a discard outlet. 2 of them are even high spirits targets. I use them to make Photon Lord for protection from cards like stupid stinky rocks. By the way, if you want a second field spell so that Salvation is more consistent in case you draw this, New Frontier is cute. Never works for me. Maybe I'm just bad. The Photon Lord that you make has another effect for actual Photon decks. I looked through all the Photon and Galaxy cards looking for potential synergies. The best I found was Photon Jumper. Although in the time it's taken for me to explain all this, they've probably released a few more. You know how it is. Personally, I am using a very minimal Horus package to save space and money. Quebi's the weakest, but the best discard for high spirits. Happy is the strongest, but cannot be highly spirited. Happy is depressed. Depression does not always correlate with whether someone is having a happy or sad time. Some brains just don't make the right neurotransmitters. Unless you like and subscribe, and then I get the happy juice. Oh hey, it's that other engine that was made to work with everything. Diabellestar, the Seeker of Sinful Spoilers. What's that? Darth Vader wants to be my daddy? Oh, he's so naughty. This one's pretty simple. Diabellestar gets Deception of the Sinful Spoils, which gets Azamina Debtors, which gets Rhea Sylvia, which negates anything, and you can revive it on the next turn. If you got to Diabellestar by drawing the Wanted poster, you also get a draw to replace what you discarded. Or don't discard anything, send Tenki or a spare crystal as the cost to summon Diabellestar from your hand. Yep, just like get your free negates, free discard, free draw. Gotta find Verte for this bit. Where did I throw Verte? The final engine I'll cover is Nemeses. All of our basic plays banish stuff, which means 2 free monsters for SP or Sil Hat Rabbit, or maybe even Verte on Master Duel. That flag is searchable off of Banshee if you can afford the space, and you know, there's the 1-card Colossus play. As a combo pile, you'll also have an easy time summoning Protos and Eschatos, the beginning and the end, for main deck bosses. I used to play all these with Umbrella, which could recycle things from the graveyard and go turn after turn, recycling not just themselves, but your other engines, like Crystal Beast Rainbow Dragon. Nemesis cards are so flippin' fun. I want to give an extra shout out to Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. It's an alternate search target and a nifty discard that bounces other things back to the hand. Getting a co-linked Nightmare Griffin into play alongside other bosses while making full use of those Tri-Brigade discards is very resource intensive. Zephyros can potentially get you 2 extra cards to help with that. You can also throw in your favorite staples as usual. Monster Reborn and Foolish Burial can do stuff here, but nothing on their own. And DD Crow is searchable here. Oh, I was cleaning up and I found this. Grass is legal now, so if you want to, you can. Just be responsible and courteous when you do. I'm not responsible for what you mail. In my side deck, I pretty much just keep things for crossout and extra spell and trap removal. This deck's toughest matchup has been Labyrinth, and those cards have way too many effects, and their names are all the same, so no matter how many times I play against them, I have to read every card in every match because there's just no way to tell them apart from each other. That's my game design rant. It's also a waifu theme. Not in my gay Yu-Gi-Oh! Also keep an Underwear Goddess handy for those invincible boss monsters. That finally concludes my updated Sapphire Surprise video guide. If you've watched this to the end, and you've been here since the first Sapphire Surprise guide, leave a comment. How's it going? Some of my friends have been concerned because the quantity and quality of videos I've been putting out have taken a major toll on my health. Stepping back and taking an objective look at the deck I've built here today, this is sobering. I need to stop, but I'm not going to. Like and subscribe for more of whatever this is. I will at least be slowing down going forward. When that first Sapphire Surprise video went big, I challenged myself to try the YugiTube thing. Keep up a regular upload schedule for the whole year, and I did it. I have reached the end. I proved that I could do it, and dang it, I'm proud of what I've made, even if the views and subscribers have been tanking recently. I'm not gonna let anyone else tell me that I can't do something. I produced over 7 hours of high-quality content this year, and next year, I may sleep. Stay tuned, and thank you. This truly is the deck of a crazy person, but now I'm a crazy person with a bit of a platform, so now I can have fun with it.